They called it the Rock, a fortress in the middle of San Francisco Bay, a place where America sent its most dangerous criminals men society couldn't control. Alcatraz wasn't just a prison. It was a legend. Built on a rocky island, isolated by freezing waters and jagged cliffs, Alcatraz was designed to be escape-proof. And for decades, it was. Or at least, that's what the authorities believed. Before Alcatraz became the most feared prison in America, the island had a history of its own. In the 1850s, it served as a military fort, cannons pointed toward the Golden Gate, guarding the bay from imagined threats. By the early 1900s, it became a military prison, housing soldiers accused of crimes during war. But by the 1930s, the federal government had a new problem. The Great Depression had fueled crime across the country. Gangsters, bank robbers, and violent offenders were overwhelming the existing prison system. They needed a place so secure that escape would be impossible. And so, in 1934, Alcatraz became a federal penitentiary. It was cold, it was stark, and it was designed to break men. No sunlight, no warmth, no comfort, only rules, discipline, and the knowledge that failure could cost you your life. Life inside Alcatraz was regimented and relentless. Prisoners woke at dawn, dressed in stripes, and moved under the watchful eyes of guards. Meals were brief, labor was hard, and recreation was limited. Every moment was calculated, every action observed. For many, isolation was the most punishing part. Prisoners could spend hours in silence, confined to steel cells with nothing but concrete walls. Some were given work assignments, laundry, kitchen duty, or even the dangerous task of working in the gun galleries. Each day, the monotony, fear, and constant observation wore them down. Violence was never far away. Fights broke out, rivalries formed, and some prisoners became legends not for their crimes outside, but for the brutality they displayed inside. Yet even under these conditions, men attempted the impossible: escape. Alcatraz was home to some of America's most notorious criminals. Al Capone, the infamous Chicago mob boss, found himself confined on the Rock. Once a symbol of power and wealth, inside he was stripped of influence, spending his days in isolation, suffering from syphilis that slowly destroyed his mind. George "Machine Gun" Kelly, the notorious kidnapper and outlaw, tried to hold onto his bravado but found the regimented prison life suffocating. Robert Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz, famed for his knowledge of birds and scientific work, was also confined, his life a testament to the strange intersection of intellect and punishment. Every inmate arrived with a reputation, but the prison had a way of leveling all men. Inside, everyone was just another number, another cell, another story. Alcatraz's location was part of its reputation. Surrounded by frigid waters, strong currents, and razor-sharp rocks, the bay itself was a deadly barrier. Guards believed no one could survive it. The security measures were meticulous. Cells were made of steel and concrete. Bars were reinforced. Windows were small. Doors were locked with multiple keys. Guards patrolled constantly, and counts were conducted at least twice a day. Yet human ingenuity and desperation often defy expectation. Prisoners started devising elaborate plans. Some chipped away at walls using spoons. Others fashioned tools from everyday objects. They studied guard patterns, timed their movements, and sometimes, for years, plotted their freedom. The most famous escape in Alcatraz history occurred in 1962. Frank Morris and brothers Clarence and John Anglin disappeared from the Rock in what has become one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. They spent months secretly hollowing out vents, creating life-size dummy heads to fool the guards, and assembling a raft from raincoats. On a stormy night, they slipped through the holes they had carved and made it to the water. The official story: they drowned. No trace of their bodies was ever found, but speculation continues. Did they survive? Some believe they made it to freedom, vanishing into the San Francisco fog. By the 1960s, Alcatraz faced problems it could not contain. Maintenance was costly, morale was low, and riots had begun to shake the foundations of the prison system. In 1963, after nearly 30 years as a federal penitentiary, Alcatraz closed. The prisoners were moved to other facilities, and the Rock was left to the elements. Today, the prison stands as a monument to isolation, discipline, and the extreme lengths a society will go to contain its worst criminals. Alcatraz has remained in the public imagination for decades. Books, movies, and documentaries have tried to capture its fearsome reputation, and yet the mystery endures. Was it truly escape-proof? Did the 1962 escapees survive? How did men like Al Capone and Machine Gun Kelly endure such brutal conditions? Visitors today walk the same halls, peer into the same cells, and stare out across the unforgiving waters. The Rock no longer holds criminals, but it holds stories dark, chilling, and unforgettable. Alcatraz reminds us that confinement isn't just physical, it's psychological. And for those who lived inside, the Rock left marks that no one could erase.